And it's time now for weather with Nebraska Extension Ag Climatologist and Market Journal Chief Meteorologist Al Dutcher. Al, we've got farmers out in the field right now harvesting their crops, and I'd imagine they're hoping for some good news from you. What can we expect from the weather in the week ahead?
Well, Bill, we did have some excellent harvest activity weather earlier in the week, and then we had to deal with this upper air low trough that was moving from the western United States. It's slowly been crawling across the center part of the country. Pretty significant rainfall to the south of us, and we actually seen some decent rainfall during the Wednesday night period into Thursday morning from the eastern portion of southwest Nebraska into portions of central Nebraska and then northward up through the I-80 corridor just to the southern edge of the sandhills where from 1 to 3 inches fell. Then we had repeat rounds that occurred Thursday night, Friday, and then we're dealing with some residual precipitation here in the southeastern part of the state. So overall, we can't complain compared to last September when we couldn't hardly get a drop of precipitation across the state for the entire month. So a much better pattern, although we're still dry. We do have more opportunities for precipitation, particularly as we get toward the latter end of the period. So let's take a look at the upper air model. Here's what remains of that upper air low. It's kind of broadening out and it's expected to cut off. Most of the precipitation with this system will remain to our south, but we can't rule out southeast Nebraska as having the potential for scattered shower activity, particularly as we go through the first half of the day. The more concentrated area of precipitation will remain to the south of us, and then as we go into tomorrow, that trough kind of starts to lift toward the Great Lakes. We do see a little bit of cooling behind that front, so we're going to stay temperatures in the 60s to the low 70s persistently across the eastern half of the state, maybe slightly warmer to the west. And then we'll see the precipitation shield expand over the eastern Corn Belt after all the heavy precipitation they received during this past week. We're going to see another repeat round of it. For us, high pressure will be firmly in control, and we should start to dry out for the most part across our region, and that will remain persistent throughout the week. Our temperatures are going to remain fairly consistent with around normal temperatures, low 70s, upper 60s consistently. By Tuesday, we will start to see basically the ridge pushing a little bit farther to the east, a slight bump up of temperatures, maybe a degree or two, heavy precipitation in the southeast, but an absence of moisture, so we should see some good harvest activity. The upper air low cuts off over the Gulf Coast, and a major trough starts to enter the western United States, but for the center part of the country, high and dry looks to be the word, and we may actually see our temperatures bump up slightly to where we might actually hit the 80-degree mark in the southwest. But by Thursday, that trough starts to make its way into the Pacific Northwest. We'll get a southwest flow aloft, so there should be some drying weather across these central plains at the surface. Our temperatures, once again, will make it up into probably the mid-70s to upper 70s and a few isolated 80s. And as we get into Friday, that trough starts to approach the western United States, the western third of the United States, start to pull up some of that southwest flow ahead of us. So we should see one more good day of harvest activity weather before we start to see some of the influence of this trough moving into our region, and its potential as we get the second half of the weekend for a fairly significant storm system to develop across the northern plains and maybe even bringing some frost into the Dakotas. 8 to 14 day forecast, it takes us from next Thursday through the following Tuesday, shows that warmth pushing toward the Great Lakes, and then we'll see that cold air coming in from the western United States. And in terms of precipitation, very significant moisture across the western United States may have a big influence on the wildfires, putting them out, and we'll start to see that precipitation creeping into our region as we get late into the weekend.